Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. As you'll hear me reflect on, as I did last year after I had the opportunity to do the One Coast Award sort of keynote address on the 20th anniversary of the One Coast Awards, and I had the honor of starting those awards back at the Sun Herald when I was publisher. I'm going to reflect also about the speech I had the opportunity to give last week for the Leadership Gulf Coast alumni breakfast, where they bring all the classes back together again, and just a great chance for them to get to see each other and for them to reflect on sort of, the journey that we've all been on. And I had the opportunity to speak to that group. And one of the things that I said is that there is a powerful lubrication to change that comes from pain. When we feel pain, we want to fix it. And certainly after Hurricane Katrina, as I described it, it was pain on every dimension. It was an explosion of pain that leadership had to deal with. But one of the questions I asked the Leadership Gulf Coast class or alumni group was this: is there pain today? Is the pain severe today? And the point that I made was, and I guess it all depends on who you ask. And one of the examples that I gave was, if I were to go with Suzanne Snyder, a 20-something-year-old manager of Hillier House that we had such a great visit, who is president of an organization that is a food pantry. If you were to go with Susan to sit in her food pantry and sit across the table from people who need that service, what would they tell you about their pain? And should their pain be our pain? See, my point is that there's a lot of pain in the community, and it may not be at the Hurricane Katrina level, but there's a lot of pain. And the reality of it is we get so busy in our lives, we have a tendency to sort of turn our head to it. Sometimes it's easier to turn our head. Like, for example, if we were to go with Jamie Bates to see a homeless family and to sit and look at them in the eye and ask them, are they feeling pain? I guess that what they would tell you is their pain is severe. But, again, we have a tendency to turn our heads. Well, leaders don't turn their heads. That's kind of the message that I gave to the alumni group. And the work that we have to do together on so many dimensions across our community is really breathtaking. And we need volunteers and we need people to work together. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy my visits with our next guests. Martha Allen is the executive director for Extra Table, sort of the brainchild of my friend Robert St. John, and they are getting close to being in 82 counties. In fact, the food pantry that Susanna Snyder is a leader in accepts some food from Extra Table, and this relationship with food pantries all across the coast and all across the state are powerfully important. But, Martha, by the way, welcome back to Coast Vue. How you doing, my friend?
Welcome. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Always fun to be chatting with the Coast folks.
So listen, so when you think about what I was saying about, do we have severe pain today? It really does depend on who you ask. But if you just open your eyes and open your heart and be aware, you can quickly realize that we've got work to do, don't we?
We have lots of work to do on so many levels, but we do it as a team. We do it as one coast, and that's how we can make a big, dramatic, and sustainable difference, is by working together and communicating our message.
So remind people who have not heard us talk before about what Extra Table's up to, and give us a general feeling for the scope of the work that you're involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So at Extra Table, we were founded in 2009 by Chef Robert St. John. This is his office, all his books, not mine. So he's out of town. And so when he's out, I capture this place as a good, quiet little corner. So Extra Table was founded in 2009 by Chef Robert St. John. Our mission is different. We are not a food pantry. We do not compete with your food pantries. We fundraise and we purchase food, we warehouse it, and then we deliver it for free. There's no membership. There's no donation, nothing. For free to food pantries and soup kitchens all across the state. And in 2023, we delivered to 62 food pantries every single month to their doorstep. Roll it in, help put it on the shelf. We like to think of our food as being able to offer respect and dignity and hope for a better tomorrow. Just like you're saying, people are in pain, and you don't always know who around you is hungry. It can be kids in our children's classrooms. It could be people on the work site. But the face of hunger in Mississippi has changed dramatically since COVID, and is continuing to change as inflation goes up. And that's a big thing that we are hearing and seeing. A food pantry that might have served 200 a week in 200 families a week in June and July and August is serving, almost 1,000 people a week, about 800 we're hearing. So it's quadrupled in the request for food. And that's just being hit when you are down with COVID, and then supply chain, and then inflation is just hitting us and hitting us and hitting us. And so it's a tough time for so many families. And it's moms and dads working 2 jobs, and senior citizens that just can't make it to the end of the month. And Ricky, that's what Extra Table is there to do. We supply food, quality, good food, to enrich people's lives to these food pantries so that they can provide the emergency assistance, the food emergency assistance. It's just mandatory for living.
So that's the stated goal of your organization, is to address the pain points that I was just talking about and really make definitive progress on the local level to make sure people don't go hungry. I would say a byproduct of what you do, though, and it's another thing that I talked about the other day, and that is that we can't have enough volunteers to focus on issues like food pantries and the kind of work that you're doing. We need more leadership capacity, and just in general. And one of the things that you're doing is you're sort of making people open their eyes and their hearts to the reality of these needs. And then the leaders in them aren't able, as I said, to turn their heads. And they have to now try to figure out how they can help. Now, some of them are doing it by donation. Some are doing it by they're in the food business and they can provide food. Some of them, distribution. I mean, it comes in different forms. But I would say the secondary thing, creating these network of people who care, these leaders who cannot turn their heads, that once they know about it, they have to figure out what they can do to help solve the problem. And once you hook them, they kind of stay involved for the most part, don't they?
That's exactly right. We all have a talent. We might not always have time or money, but we all have a talent to give. A good example of that, 2 Coast people that serve on my board, Jeff Bertucci. When we need pallets, those beer pallets, man, those things serve a purpose. So we are always raiding Jeff's FEB distribution warehouse to get those wooden pallets. And then another board member, John Oropeza, he runs a construction company, Oricon Construction. And when we need a forklift to unload an 18-wheeler, John's got it in just a matter of time. And those are important ways. We all have time and talents that we can use to serve and to make a difference. And at Extra Table, I believe that's where our strength comes from and our momentum comes from, is because everyone is welcome here. Everyone is included. You are needed on this team. Just come to us and tell us how you can be assistance in championing hunger. And, Ricky, food is a basic human right. I am not in denial. There are so many amazing nonprofits out there, but we can't make it through a day without food. And so we have got to support this mission, encourage this mission to grow. We're in, about 65 counties right now, and 82 is where we're heading. And it's important that we get there for our future generations, not just those today.
I love that you mentioned Jeff Bertucci. That's a really great example. And again, it's funny because you get into coastal Mississippi and all the dots start to connect. We were talking about that offline a few minutes ago, but Jeff's mother, Janie, and I graduated from high school together. We went through 12 years of school together. His father, Frank, is a good friend of mine. And in fact, we've been fishing in Costa Rica together before. Jeff actually went to law school, and he worked as a lawyer for, I think, 6 or 7 years in the same firm where my son is a lawyer. And what Jordan, my son, tells me about Jeff's reputation is that he became a really good lawyer, an incredibly good writer. And I thought it was really smart of his dad to, instead of just bringing him right into the business, he goes to law school, works with a really good firm doing incredible work. And then he joins back, and he and his brother now leading this organization with their father's help, of course. and they've done just a great work. But that's what building leadership capacity is all about. So once you make someone like Jeff aware that there's a contribution they can make, not only do you get pallets from Jeff, but you get his expertise and his passion and all of that.
I was just about to make that additional point. I was cutting him short saying just the pallets. Jeff is always on the front line of saying, hey, let me talk to you about the warehouse. I think I can help with that. Let me offer advice on this. I think I can help. And we're so grateful. And, we welcome board members. You don't have to be on the board. You can just be a part of our network and our team and that group that we're constantly calling on in order to be successful. So Jeff and John are rock stars. And I know there's more out there listening. So give us a call at Extra Table and tell us how you can share in our passion to fight hunger.
There is no doubt about that. Hey, when we come back on the other side with Martha Allen, the executive director for Extra Table, we'll talk about actually a really important bill it's getting close. It's getting close. We'll talk about what that bill is all about. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to Coast Vue. One of the things that I shared during my speech with the Leadership Gulf Coast Alumni Group was a quote. I reflected a little bit on a Coast Vue session that I had here with Ted Jackson, the really incredible Pulitzer Prize-winning photojournalist who works in New Orleans, who's from Macomb, Mississippi, I might add. And he wrote a great book. And one of the things he said to me on my show is that you may not be able to change the world, but you can change the life of one person. And he just says, at the very least, figure out who your one person is going to be. And this quote that I shared, I don't know who said it, but it's been passed around the internet, but it's really powerful. And here's what it says. Always try to leave people better than you found them. Hug the hurt, kiss the broken, befriend the lost, love the lonely. If you, Martha Allen, executive director of Extra Table and a good friend of mine in this show, when you hear that, Martha, that's what food pantries do. You're not just providing food so they can not go hungry, but there's a great thing about bringing volunteers together with people who have needs, isn't there?
That's exactly right. And for someone that has never known hunger or doesn't know anyone experiencing hunger and doesn't maybe believe that hunger is that bad in Mississippi, think about what food does in each of our lives. We sit around the table, it enriches our lives. It creates joy. It creates family. It's a function that we do that lifts us all up. And so food is so important for those that are lost and lonely. It brings us all back to, I hate to say, one table, Extra Table, so that we can feed people together. But yeah, that's what we do. Food is a basic human right, and it's where we all cross paths and meet, and it's what brings us up and out in the world.
You've gotten really good at saying it, but when you have a passion for what you're doing and you are able to look people in the eyes, this could be people who run food shelters or the people they serve, and to see how happy they are to have an Extra Table there to help them, all the dots connect. And it's not easy. I mean, again, it's too often for the average person, too often easy to just try to sort of turn your head. It's painful to think about that. It's painful to think about so many issues in the community, but the great community leaders among us cannot turn their heads. And once they are aware of the situation, they're going to do everything in their power to try to address it.
That's exactly right. Speaking of great community leaders, the March of the Mayors is this Thursday, and all of your community leaders across the Mississippi Gulf Coast have stood up and said, I am here. I'm a voice for those hungry across our coast. And man, that's amazing. These mayors are collecting one healthy shelf-stable item each. And Thursday's the big packing day, a packing party.
Yeah, awesome. That is so exciting to hear. And they're passionate about it. I mean, they've all sort of, I think there's only like one or two mayors that aren't engaged, and I'll see what I can do to help you with those or them. But it's really good. I mean, I've had Billy Hughes on the show, and he's super excited about it, and Fofo's engaged in it. And, it's just pretty cool to see their passion for wanting to be involved in this.
Absolutely, you're right. And it's so cool to take it to a different level and to play off y'all's number one team spirit on the coast is that Mardi Gras spirit. And to continue a couple weeks after, we give you a little lull to recover. And then we're like, join us at, Mississippi's largest food box packing party. And we pack thousands of food boxes every year. This is our third year. And Ricky, what's so unique about this event, there's no ticket to participate. There's no VIP table. Just show up, come as you are, ready and willing to serve. And you're going to meet your neighbor in line. And we have like a little mini factory and set up all the tables and pack the boxes with food. And it's just a fun, spirited day. There's moon pies and Mardi Gras beads and, lots of great corporate t-shirts out there, everybody volunteering with their companies. And it's just a day that gives us back individually way more joy than we could ever give out. And people are fed. And when you close the top on that packed box and push it across the table, you're pushing it directly into the back of one of the 13 food pantries and soup kitchens that'll be picking up from this event.
That is awesome. Thank you for your passion for that. Listen, House Bill 1723. It doesn't matter what the number is, but it's a really important food bank incentive program. Passed the House and the Senate, and it does look like the governor will sign it. We'll have to wait a few days to make sure that's the case, but it's moved along well. Tell us about what that's about.
Man, we are so excited. Thank you to our representatives and our senators and for all the thousands and thousands of people that made phone calls telling our elected officials how important hunger is and how they champion the work that the 4 food banks in the state of Mississippi are doing. So House Bill 1723 will support the work of not just Extra Table, but Feeding the Gulf Coast, Mississippi Food Network, and Mid-South Food Bank. This is a team effort, and we know that together we can make so much more food possible for those in Mississippi. This is a business income tax credit program. So for a business that writes an income tax check to the state of Mississippi, you can fill out one little sheet of paperwork and write that check to one of the 4 food banks. You will get dollar for dollar credit. So this is a huge way for your company to support a nonprofit. You could simply divert your check to the Department of Revenue, but you could do this for Extra Table, Mid-South Food Bank, Mississippi Food Network, and Feeding the Gulf Coast and make so much more of an impact. And, I laughed and said, this is something we still, as the food banks, have to work for. We've got to go get those businesses to partner with us and to commit to giving. And when that happens, these businesses tell their employees they want to announce it internally. And so more people learn about the work that we are doing fighting hunger. So it's really cool. But a dollar for dollar tax credit for income tax for businesses. And I understand with a 117-0 vote in the House and 114-0 in the Senate, I believe are my numbers. And it's headed to the governor's desk. So we're waiting on the man at the top to give us his signature.
And the Senate would have been 52-0. There you go.
Way better.
But here's the thing, though.
Whoops.
Here's what's important about that. That's super compelling. I've often said that in an election year in the Mississippi legislature, and this is true in any legislature, in an election year, it can be, or at least border on being a boring session. This session during an election year, it's been anything but boring, man. I mean, in fact, I was talking with Linda Hornsby and said that the number of hotel rooms that are being leased and it's always high, but they're having a really good year. And my thought is that all this legislation that's being considered, all these tough issues that are being tackled, is an indication that they didn't let the fact that it was an election year stop them from trying to make something happen. And people have been just having to go to Jackson in droves to kind of push the process along. But to have a vote like you guys got in the Senate and the House is unbelievably compelling. And think what the outcome will be of all this.
It's just so amazing. And it's so humbling. While we know that, passing this bill is so important, we know our legislators and senators they're tackled with so much important stuff. And for them to take time to learn about our bill, to champion our bill and to push it through, we are so grateful because so many people that might not have a voice championing their fight will be served. And we're really excited. This is another efficient and effective way we can get more quality food to our neighbors that are hungry here in Mississippi. I read the other day, Ricky, that food insecurity affected 62 of the 82 counties. And I was just blown away by that. And then processing in my head that we serve 62 food pantries every month. And it's just, wow, to think counties don't have grocery stores. I mean, you've probably can throw a rock and hit one sitting where you are. I know I can throw one and hit Corner Market across the parking lot.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Listen, to make a bill go like this bill has gone through the legislature with the vote that you've gotten, it takes a team effort. Lots of people lobbying, lots of time on the phone, lots of getting local legislators engaged in it, et cetera. I was pleased actually to see that Representative Trey Lamar from Senatobia actually authored the bill. He's been on my show before. He's a significant leader in the House. But, you know, you get Trey on your side, and with he's just a great legislator. Good things are going to happen.
They are. It was funny when everybody started talking about Trey Lamar, and I was like, wait, I totally had biology in college with him, and I love his wife. So it's amazing to see. Hadn't talked to he or Jill in years, and it's just such a small world in Mississippi. There's so many great people. The first house I ever bought was his wife's childhood home. So, you know,
what are the chances, Martha?
What are the chances? So after our bill passed through the House, I messaged his wife and I was like, Jill, oh my goodness. So yeah, Trey does a great job and was such a kind person to help champion this effort.
Well, listen, I'm so happy, and I pray the governor signs it. I can't imagine he wouldn't, given that sort of head of steam. But great success. Keep up the great work as you guys, bulldoze forward to 82 counties so more people can get your services. This has been Extra Table Executive Director Martha Allen and my dear friend, and we'll see you soon.
See you Thursday.
You bet. We'll see you. Hey, right after this break, we're going to visit with Robbie Carter about fishing tournaments. We'll see you after this.